Hi, I'm Alex.
And I'm Holly, and today we're going to talk about our views on feminism in light of our newly formed party.
Our party is called Action for Women, and we will be talking about it from our perspective as liberal feminists of this party.
As said by June Hannum in her book, feminism is a recognition of an imbalance of power between the sexes. It's a belief that the woman's condition is socially constructed. Society today has allowed the woman's role to become somewhat subordinated by males.
And we as a party are a branch of feminists known as liberal feminists, and the action we take can be referred to as feminist liberalism. Within the Oxford Dictionary of Gender Studies, the definition of a liberal feminist is someone who centres on equality in the public sphere between women and men.
In today's society, we sit in the third wave of feminism.
Feminism has been present throughout history, but not always acted upon. The three waves of feminism have been discussed by Kanika Kara, and they began in the 19th and early 20th century. That was based upon the ideology of equal rights for women, and also to protest against the idea of ownership of married women.
The second wave of feminism began in the 1960s and ran through into the 1990s, focusing on the working class society and how to make female positions better.
This is a point that we think is valid towards our views as a party in order to help people. This is within the current wave of feminism, which we now refer to as the third wave.
The third wave shares the interests of the first two, for example the empowerment of women, and also promotes young women's voices. The reason behind us talking about the waves of feminism today is to give you a better understanding of the world we live in.
The different ways of feminism throughout history have always had a common goal, and that is to aid the empowerment of women in society and to continue to fight towards equality between the genders. We believe that in society today, it has changed for the better for us, however there are still changes that need to be made. The society of today holds a number of political issues which concern feminism and the rights we have as women. Throughout this broadcast we will address them and prove how we would solve them if we were to get your vote.
Throughout this broadcast, you will be given our opinions on each of the following: Brexit, austerity, Russia 2018, the role of the state, whether we want to be a royalist or republican country, and finally, neoliberalism. The Brexit vote occurred on the 23rd of June 2016, and the result of the vote left the country in shock and utter disbelief. 51.9% of the country voted to leave, which isn't a great margin between the two sets of voters.
Through the result of Brexit, political ramifications were almost immediate, with David Cameron resigning on the 24th of June 2016, just one day after the votes took place and the day where the votes came in. He believed that he could not run a country that wanted to leave, as he was passionate about remaining within the European Union.
Many of those who voted to leave the EU were actually spurred on by their hatred for immigration into the UK.
In the article written by Helen Lewis for The Guardian, shortly before the vote, research showed that women's voices were unheard when looking at the departure from the EU. During the lead-up to the vote, only the men were voicing their opinions over social media.
Self-important Eurosceptic male backbenchers was actually what Helen Lewis referred to them as. In the article, it suggested one reason why women may not be on the front pages voicing their opinion. This is because they prefer calm and factual conversations rather than an aggressive shouting match, which is what politics is seemingly becoming.
Alison Corley, aged 54 from Taunton, suggested that given that politics and business are still dominated by white middle-aged men, it's not surprising that their voices are the dominant ones here. Our political party exists to prevent any woman from believing this. Therefore, it's time for us to voice our opinion on the political issue of Brexit.
As liberal feminists, we are in favour of leaving the EU for a few different reasons. One being the EU can be seen as male-dominated. As said by Birchill, The Spectator, it's hard not to see the EU as the biggest boys' club of all. Rather than staying in the EU and confronting this gender debate, I believe it would be wiser and mature to simply leave, as there is no other sensible way around it.
The second is that we could use the money that we spend on the EU, such as tax and foreign aid, on other priorities such as the contribution towards equality for women, which is closing the gender gap pay. By helping out the British companies economically, this would be ideal for liberal feminists because they would be one step closer to equality. We believe in action for women and believe that the UK voted wisely in their decision to leave the EU.
The next political issue we would like to discuss is the United Kingdom Austerity Project. This is a scheme which was introduced in 2008, however initiated officially in 2010, in which, according to Mark Blyth, is a form of voluntary deflation. This is done through the reduction of wages, prices and public spending, meaning the state budgets and debts are cut.
This is promoting the growth of the private sector. as the government would not be influencing much of the businesses within the country, such as the NHS. If this national scheme, brought on by the financial crisis of 2007 to 2008, did not have such a drawback concerning the economy, we as Liberals may approve it, only because it allows the company to be free of control.
As Liberal feminists, however, we are against the idea of the austerity programme. This is because it is clearly shown that women are already at a huge disadvantage to men concerning finance, meaning austerity would only be making it worse. If we were to receive your vote, we would make it one of our top priorities to reduce austerity for women and the nation's children, as we believe the future generation is the future of the nation.
This is because, according to an article written for The Guardian, since 2010 it has been found that 1 million more children in the UK are below the breadline, meaning they are officially living in poverty. No woman wants their child to be in this situation due to their motherly instincts. Therefore, it is crucial to be providing the best that we can for our future generations. Go.
The next political debate is much more difficult to arrive at a conclusion. The 2018 FIFA World Cup is to be held at Russia, therefore there is the question of whether we should even be attending. After the poisoning of Sergei Skripal in Salisbury, England this year, a sense of danger has been created in relation to the idea that Russia could respond and attack the British fans who wish to attend the sporting event.
It has been known in previous sporting competitions that Russia fans have not been the friendliest with the English. In an article written by Shihab Khan, who works for The Independent, it was said that there were a number of incidents between the two groups at Euro 2016. This further backs up the idea that we cannot rule out the possibility that something dangerous could occur.
As Liberal feminists, our party believes that we should not be arriving at a definite yes or no to whether our country's fans should be given the opportunity to visit this country for the competition. This is because we want our country to be free and equal. Therefore, telling our citizens what they should and should not do is taking away part of their right to free will, which goes against everything we stand for.
It has been said, however, that the public actually welcomes the idea of paternalism from their state, meaning that the practice of limiting or restricting the individual's freedom could be used as a means for their own good. As a liberal feminist political party, we cannot follow this belief, and we want everyone to be equal, therefore we all have the same opportunities.
Whilst we are talking about the 2018 World Cup, we are going to touch upon the idea that inequality is still prevalent throughout modern sport in society today. Sherwood and others suggested that there has actually been substantial research to show that women athletes and women's sporting events only receive a partial amount of media coverage worldwide.
The article then goes on to say that one of the reasons why women are so underrepresented in sport is because of the hegemonic masculine nature of the newsroom, as well as the idea that most sports are male-dominated. If we were to receive your vote and the Action for Women party came into power, we would prioritise the media coverage concerning women, athletes and sports. This is because we feel that if the younger generations had females in the media to aspire to, they may feel highly likely to get themselves involved in sport.
This would be a huge benefit to our country because, as well as decreasing the problem of lack of physical activity and exercise concerning the younger generation, we would also be promoting the idea of equality between the sexes, which is obviously our number one value.
When considering us for the election, we would like you to understand our point of view concerning the role of the state, such as whether we believe it should be centralised or hollowed out.
We will now go over to Curtin Hobson, a member of the public who has been brought up as a Liberal feminist. She will now provide her view on this issue.
I think that the state should have a centralised control over our society because I think we would all be lost without someone telling us what we can or cannot do. As a feminist myself, I believe, as a group, if the state was hollowed out and had no control, we would not be doing ourselves any favours. This is because men would take advantage of the lack of regime. Therefore, we would continue to be majority subordinated by their kind. I think if the government had a more centralised role, we would have more of an opportunity to voice our feminist views through them.
Liberal feminists tend to rely on the state and political rights to increase the equality for women. They see the state as the protector of individual rights. There is an active legislation that means employers and educational institutions must involve women in the pool of their applicants.
This is beneficial for us as Liberal feminists, as we are about inclusivity of women and equality between women and men, showing therefore we should rely on the state. The Equality Act 2010 legally protects people from discrimination in the workplace as well as wider society, which is yet another siding factor for a centralised government.
A centralised state would mean our political party being at the centre of the involvement for women. As Kirsten mentioned earlier, we would not have any control if the state was hollowed out, as men would use their sense of superiority to their advantage. We as a political party within the centralised state would fight for the equalisation of rights for women in all aspects, including the gender pay gap within the corporate world and the sporting world too.
Before answering the debate of this next political issue, it is first essential to understand what both the terms royalist and republican mean. Within the Cambridge English Dictionary, a royalist would be a person who supports a ruling king or queen, i.e. the monarchy. A republican, on the other hand, is an individual who supports a government that is made up by representatives of the people rather than the king or the queen.
Although the United Kingdom has both an elected government and a monarchy, the country is essentially known as a royalist country. This is because all the laws that the government come up with must be approved finally by the monarch before it can be passed.
As liberal feminists, we believe that the United Kingdom should overall be republican. This is because we believe that the current monarchy does not prioritise equal rights for women. Therefore, we would be willing to overthrow this in order to promote our party's values and beliefs.
Furthermore, as a republican country, this would encourage the right to free will because we would not have to pass anything by a specific ruler, which would promote our liberalism views. Although we can understand how our current monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, is a potential feminist figure, due to her being the longest reigning monarch, we believe that there is simply not enough done by the monarch to encourage equal rights for women. To end this section off, we have spoken to Lindsay Ellis.
Despite not having a problem with the current monarchy of our country, if I had to choose, I would go down the Republican route. This is because I am a lifetime feminist and I just feel as though the monarchy does not have any reason to prioritise equal rights for women. I believe their traditional values do not involve encouragement of equality, and I don't think this will change when Prince Charles comes to lead the monarchy.
Our final topic of this broadcast is neoliberalism, which is a term that hugely links economics to the aspect of politics. Neoliberalism is the idea that the market should be completely free, therefore minimal input from the state.
Our Liberal Feminist Party can honestly say that we were completely against neoliberalism. The idea of a free market completely undermines our values and beliefs because we believe that the term equality will be blocked out. With minimal input from the state, there would be privileged males within the market who would not take into consideration the equality rights of females.
As said by Christina Scharf in her book Repudiating Feminism, neoliberalism can actually be used as a framework to explain why the younger generations of females may be rejecting the ideology of feminism. With this being said, we must take it into consideration because our future generation is essentially the future of our country, as I mentioned earlier. Therefore, we must do everything in our power to prevent this from happening. With your vote, we would prioritise the action of preventing neoliberalism, as this political ideology would definitely not promote equality for the sexes. We hope the information we have provided you concerning our liberal feminist values has influenced your opinion on the political issues within the modern society of our country.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our political party podcast.